Well, welcome back DIY car guys and car girls, and today we have more nitrous tuning, more nitrous testing. I've learned a lot. I come up with my own theories. They might not be sound theories, but I'll share them with you guys today. So yeah, nitrous and E85 and my thoughts. We're gonna look at plugs. We're gonna go to the track. We're gonna make hits. We're gonna shut it down. We're gonna pull them. So that's what we're doing today. Okay, so these first hits, this is my last hit from the track. Now I did drive this back to the pits, but I do have plugs right over here. These guys, we're gonna cut all the tips off and we'll look at them. This is the pass I did at the track where they towed me back. I put in new plugs, made a burnout, made the hit, and was towed back after the hit, which I'll show you guys that right now. All right, so down here are the plugs from the past. I'll go ahead and I'll cut the rest of this off, but one thing I've noticed, a E85, it is really, you have to be super fat to see that fuel ring on these guys. I was way down in the 11s. And some people call that lean, some people call that not enough. I am not sure. I do know a lot of guys who are spraying a bunch of nitrous. They run it really fat in the 85. I do have my theories that I'll talk about in a second. But that was a no prep event, and if you're wondering how I was getting my shit to hook up a no prep event, it was, we'll call it some prep, because it was actually, they scraped the front half of the track, but it was still pretty darn good. I probably didn't even need all that weight, but yeah, I just put a whole bunch of concrete on the ash right there. Not the best, because it's a sprung weight, but we'll go over more of that in the future. I'll try to get my traction better without using so much weight. So let me go ahead and just cut the rest of these guys off so we can at least look at them. And I will tell you this right now, on all my street hits, I was using pump E85 in my enrichment, which is right there, and on the carb side. I didn't really like the way the plugs were looking. They kind of had like a bluing right around here on the guys. Like all, a lot of the plugs had like a little bluing, looked like they were hot, maybe they were cold, I'm not sure. So what I did was I got this stuff right here. Now I might as well share you guys my theory right now about this. This right here is X98, which is pretty much pure ethanol. It's like $72 plus tax at a local place to get 5 gallons. And I put that in the enrichment and I ran pump 85 right there. Now here's my theory. Like I said, I was not liking the way the plugs looked. And remember, I did my little street hits, which I'll show you guys right here. I did a couple of street hits, I pulled them and looking at them. Okay, she came on then. I felt that. So I just didn't guess at this tune-up. I snuck up on it in the street, and then I went to the track when I felt like it was close enough, and I tried this, and then things really looked better on the plugs. Putting that stuff in the enrichment was about equivalent to like a 1.5 degrees of timing, maybe 2 degrees of timing on the plugs. The strap moved farther in towards this guy right here. Let me show you. So this one's really easy to see. Let us say with all pump E85, the same amount of timing, it was right around, I'm trying to get a focus on this. It was right around, you know, closer to the bin right there. Just by adding that X98, pulled that timing mark in closer right here. So basically, the further it is over here on your timing, like this guy right here, see this guy? This is where, I'll talk about this later on, but see this guy right here? Not all your plugs are gonna look the same now, especially on you know, a carburetor, and depending on how good your plate is. This timing strap is way over here. Look at that, way over there, and this one's right there. So basically, if you just pulled this one plug right here on your setup, people say, oh man, you need to give it like 3 more degrees. But what about these other plugs? Like, you know, well, that one's just hard to see, but it's really right here. But we'll just say, like, what about, you know, what's not easy to see? Like, you know, if you put 3 more degrees on this, which you probably could have, but if you kept on going on just this guy right here, you might have burnt this hole up right here. So you really got to look at your plugs on nitrous. And E85, it's definitely different. Now I cut these off. You really don't get much information by the fuel ring, because this was super fat, and that last hit it was like 11.2, 11.1. But if you look on this fuel ring, it's barely noticeable. Let me dim this down a little bit. You see it right there? You can barely see the fuel ring. And that's one thing about 85. You cannot read it like gas. Now there's some guys who run theirs really, really fat and it's living on E85, but here's my theory about that. So on boost cars, on the pump stuff, which is, well right here, which is, you know, 15% gas. If you test it, if it's real E85, it's 15% gas, and the rest of it is ethanol. But the pump stuff, they usually mix with crappy gas, like a 87 or 93 pump, right? Now in boosted applications, this is just my theory, I could be wrong, you guys can call me an idiot or whatever, but on a boosted application, you're compressing all that fuel and it's igniting. But on nitrous, right here, it's a chemical process, right? So that nitrous, the nitrous doesn't burn. What it does, under really extreme heat and compression, it breaks apart the nitrous oxide and releases oxygen. So it's basically the same thing as a turbo, but it's a chemical process that releases oxygen. Now my guess is, since it's a chemical process, a lot of atom splitting and shit's going all over the place because it's actually splitting the molecules, right? So when that happens is, I think the gas, the crappy, like, you know, 87, 93 gas in E85, why some of these guys have to run it so fat, is that gas is acting as pre-ignition. So you got that 93 and you got that, you know, or 87 gas in there. When that chemical process happens and they're splitting, that my guess is, like I said, this is just a theory, is that cheap crapo gas they're putting in the pump E85 is igniting first and then burning the ethanol, which can cause pre-ignition. So if you kind of lean it out some more, like one way to defeat knock, I mean, start, you know, or you know, knock, or like, you know, timing, it's just throw a whole bunch of fuel at it so it can't burn it all. So maybe that's the reason why, to make a motor live in E85, you got to run it super fat on nitrous and not so much on boost. That's just my theory. Yeah, so basically, I think from now on, when I'm spraying nitrous, I am only running X98 in the enrichment, and if I step up more, I'm going to run X98 in both. The reason why is because then I'm only worrying about ethanol and I'm worrying about nitrous and not gas mixed with ethanol. One thing I've always thought is, like, ethanol is too expensive. It's, you know, it's cheaper than, you know, at least the pump stuff, it's cheaper than, you know, 93 gas, right? So Why does it have to be so much for pure ethanol? Because they have to mix it with pure ethanol in the gas to make it work. So this stuff right here will never separate. It's just all alcohol. So I'm going to try in the future just that in both and run my nitrous and see how the plugs look after I get a better plate. So let's talk about this. All right, so I cut all the tips off. Well, actually the threads off so we can look into the plug. Now, if this was a gas plug, this would be incredibly lean, but ethanol is definitely different. If you put them in, make it hit, and you pull them out, it's very, very difficult to see the fuel ring. Now, you can see it in this one and this one. These, you can hardly see it. You can see a little bit in this one right here. I mean, fuel ring, look right there. To the spot right here, that's your fuel ring. But if you notice, big difference in distribution. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but very, very big difference in distribution. You want to see the heat of your plug? It's also hard to see on camera, but see how it's changing color right here? It'll change color, and you don't want that color to go farther than the 1, 2 threads. It gets into the 3 threads. That means it's too hot of a plug for what you're running. So, and like I said before, look at the timing straps on this. They're all also, some of them are pretty close. See those guys right here? Some of them are pretty close, but they're all over the place. It's just because my distribution in that plate. I'll show you a picture. I only have is 8 holes. So you look at this picture, that's how mine distributes. For E85, it's very important that you get even distribution and that you really pull your plugs, make sure everything's looking good. You're not nipping anything. You'll start to know, some of these little straps start to get nipped and you start to burn back. Well, you got too much timing or not enough fuel. And that's what you gotta look out for. And you might as well, at the same time, like I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to put a bore screw down the hole and I'll show you how to look for nipping on your cylinders. Because in the past, I've been really good at nipping cylinders and messing things up on nitrous. Because that's how you learn. And like I said, I'm learning with E85. And like I said before, I don't think I'm going to run any E85 straight in my motor right now. I'm going to put that X98 because man, it is just way better than that pump stuff and adding gas to it. So the plate that I want to get is going to be this one. And I know a lot of people are talking about, hey, get a induction solutions, they're the best. And like I said, I'm going supercharger next year. So I don't see myself spending $1,200 on just a plate. I know they're awesome and they're great and they give you great tune-ups because they flow them, but I'm just going to get this crossbar plate. As you see, that is way better than my current distribution. It's got to be. Look at all them holes. It's ridiculous when you look at those two side by side, the difference in fueling. So just for now and for safety, we'll make some more hits later on. That's the plate I'm going to get. Well, all right, guys, that's enough. I'll leave you with the last tune-up that I had, which was a 62 nitrous and a 59 fuel. And all I did was pull about a ½ degree out more in timing. You can do that right there pretty easily with that crank trigger. It's pretty awesome. And as you can see, timing is definitely different for about every single, one. So yeah, you gotta pull all your plugs on nitrous and look at every single hole. So that said, we'll see this hit and I'll show you other guys that were out there in the No Prep event, which is pretty cool. Until next time, guys, peace.